They thought Earth would stay silent. It began on the moon of Itara Prime, a neutral world known across the galaxy as the seat of diplomacy. No weapons, no threats, just words. It was here that Ambassador Elias Grange, Earth's first appointed diplomat to the Galactic Council, stood alone before thousands of alien delegates. The youngest species ever invited to the table. Calm, patient, human, until the Drekar Dominion arrived. Towering, reptilian, and ancient, the Drekar marched into the council chamber, not with conversation, but with contempt. Their leader, Marshal Skor, addressed the council with a grin full of serrated teeth. "We warned you. This species is a threat, and we do not make threats. We eliminate them." In a single motion, Skor turned and drove a blade through Elias's chest. The chamber froze. There was no fight, no resistance. Elias fell to his knees, confusion in his eyes, blood blooming through his white diplomatic robe. He looked to the stars above, a glass dome arching over the chamber, his lips forming one final word. "Tell them." He collapsed. Dead. Just like that. Gasps echoed. A few species rose in protest. Most stayed seated, out of fear. The Drekar didn't flee. They didn't hide. They stood proudly, daring anyone to stop them. And no one did. That night, across the galaxy, headlines screamed the unthinkable. Human ambassador executed live on galactic floor. Earth silent, no response issued. Was this a declaration of war? But Earth did not speak. No statement. No threats. Just silence. In the quiet corners of space, some whispered Earth was too weak to respond, that humans were simply unprepared for the realities of galactic politics. Others believed the Drekar were right, that humans didn't belong among the stars. But in the dark orbit above Saturn, deep within the shadow of Titan, a signal pulsed. It was short, ancient, coded in a language no alien species had ever deciphered. "Read protocol ignition, Rao. Status awake." In the silence of the Titan command vault, cryo chambers hissed open. Inside one of them lay General Kale Rao, once Earth's most decorated strategist, now little more than a myth. His body thawed slowly, eyes fluttering open to the dim red light of emergency activation. A synthetic voice greeted him. "Commander." Haratsu diplomat Elias Grange is dead. Drekar aggression confirmed. Authority for response level black. Kale exhaled. Cold air escaped his lungs like smoke. "Time to remind them," he said, voice raspy, "what humanity is capable of." Back on Yitara Prime, the council gathered in panic. Murmurs filled the hall. No one had seen Earth's response. There was no counterattack, no fleet, just a hollow chair where the human ambassador once sat. High Marshal Sikor smirked, speaking with arrogance before the council. "Their silence is submission." He didn't notice the single delegate who quietly slipped out, skin pale blue, robes worn. The Nareen. Her species known for staying neutral, always watching and always remembering. The Nareen counselor, Visa, moved through the halls of the Yitara archives. She accessed restricted footage, not from the day Elias died, but from moments after. The body had been recovered, not by security, not by medics, by something else. A small drone, sleek, unmarked, human-made. It had entered and left without detection, and it had taken Elias's body with it. "You fools!" Visa whispered, heart pounding. "They weren't silent. They were listening." 2 days later, Drekar Fleet Station D-14 was reduced to atoms. No warships were seen in the area. No missiles. No distress call. Just silence, followed by oblivion. The Drekar called an emergency war council. Their generals argued. Who had the power to erase a starbase without triggering sensors? Only one answer made the room go quiet. Earth, Ace. Rumors spread. The Galactic Council demanded answers. Delegates debated sanctions, others urged diplomacy. But nothing came from Earth. Not a word. Only deep within a void black ship drifting silently beyond Pluto, General Kyle Rao stood alone before a star map, glowing with Drekar systems. His eyes were cold, focused. "You killed one of us," he said quietly. "Now you'll learn how many it takes to break a galaxy." He gave the order. "Initiate Phase 1. The galaxy talked, whispered, laughed, and Earth said nothing. For every destroyed warbase, every unexplained blackout in Drekar space, humanity offered no claims, no denials, only stillness. Galactic newsnets ran endless debates. Analysts speculated. Had Earth awakened some long-buried weapon? Was this vengeance or coincidence? But Earth remained quiet, and that terrified the smart ones. In Earth's hidden lunar base, the once deactivated halls of Project Helios hummed with sudden life. 1,000 dormant machines woke from slumber, old unmarked prototypes that hadn't seen the light in decades. Ships shaped like nothing the galaxy had ever seen lifted silently from underground hangars and vanished into space without leaving a signal trace. Inside the command deck, General Kale Rao stood before a curved holographic table. His team, human only, bound by oath and protocol, watched him like soldiers waiting for prophecy. He pointed at the Drekar systems. Red pulses, marked, studied. They killed Elias Grange thinking he was a messenger, but he wasn't. Commander Anavelis, his second in command, frowned. He was. Kyle turned toward her, eyes dark. A lit match. Far across the stars, in a Drekar war chamber carved from obsidian and bone, High Marshal Skor pounded a clawed fist against the table. His voice thundered across the hololinks of lesser commanders. "Someone has struck 3 of our forward stations. 3. Where is the enemy? Where is their fleet?" None could answer. The Drekar were used to brute force fire and visible war, but this was different. These were cuts in the dark, surgical, invisible, flawless. It was not Drekar style, not Council style. It was human style. "I want Earth destroyed," Skor snarled, "and I want it done now." Back on Earth, the President met Kyle Rao through a secure interstellar channel, encrypted with keys older than most planetary governments. "You were supposed to be a myth," she said, "a ghost of a war we never had." "Myths are born from truth," Kyle replied, "and that war is coming now." "So what's the plan?" He didn't blink. "We don't start wars. We end them." In the outer rim, near the border of Drekar-controlled zones, Earth's ghost fleet emerged, not in formation but scattered, embedded, masked. They looked like asteroids, dust, glitches in the void. But within them were minds, synthetic AIs linked to Earth's quantum net, and soldiers who had trained not for battle, but for extinction-level retaliation. Their mission, not to destroy planets, but legacies. Meanwhile, whispers reached even the oldest species. The Orzath, a crystalline race that lived for 10,000 years in silence, stirred for the first time in centuries. The Enreen archivists halted all public transmissions and locked their records, and the Jareth, master traders of the galactic spine, quietly withdrew all trade from Drekar sectors. Without explanation, something ancient was waking in humanity, and the stars remembered fear. On Yatara Prime, Councillor Visa, the only one who had retrieved hidden footage of the drone, addressed her private circle of allies. Her words were slow, calculated. "Humanity has not declared war," she said, "because it has nothing to prove." "Then why strike?" asked a voice from the shadows. "Because Elias Grange was not just a diplomat. He was their son, their brother, their symbol. The Drekar did not just kill a man. They invited a reckoning." The room went silent. Visa looked into the stars from her chamber window, and Earth accepted. Kale Rao sat alone in the observation dome of his ship, gazing at the Earth, blue, calm, spinning in the silence of space. Below him, the planet remained unaware. Children played, cities hummed, life continued, untouched by the war crawling toward them. He reached into his coat, pulling out Elias Grange's badge, cracked, blood-stained. "You knew this would happen," Kyle murmured. "You knew it had to." He closed his eyes, feeling the hum of his ship. Not cold metal, not machinery, a promise. "We don't fight because we're angry," he whispered. "We fight because we remember, and we never forget." As Earth's ghost fleet took position, an automated message began to transmit across all known systems. Not a threat, not a warning, just coordinates. Coordinates of a single Drekar war moon, and 2 words. We're coming. The Drekar war moon known as Varan 7 was a fortress. It had stood untouched for 3 centuries, its dark surface carved with blood-red runes, orbiting silently above a volatile gas giant like a watchful predator. Inside, over 70,000 Drekar. Soldiers trained, bred and sharpened for endless war, and then one morning, without warning, it died. No sirens. No warning shots, no fleet in sight. At 300 hours Galactic Standard Time, every system on Varan 7 failed in perfect sequence. Communications went dark, airlocks sealed, gravity reversed, fire suppression turned into flame generation. Over 300 automated defenses activated, not to repel but to destroy from within. By the time the Drekar realized something was wrong, their moon had already begun tearing itself apart. 17 minutes after the initial cascade, Varan 7's core ruptured. A blinding white flash spread across the system, visible to 5 nearby colonies. Nothing remained. No ship was seen entering. No missile was launched. No trace of Earth's fleet, but everyone knew who did it. On the Galactic Council floor, chaos erupted. The Drekar delegation stormed out mid-session, screaming about dishonor, demanding vengeance. Several member races called for sanctions. A few, mostly quiet observers like the Talari and Vosin, whispered to each other in guarded tones because they'd seen something in the method. Not rage, not recklessness, but precision. Earth didn't retaliate like a wounded animal. It hunted like a patient predator. On a dead station just beyond Mars, Kyle Rao sat in an observation chair surrounded by hollow screens. No celebration, no applause, just silence. Commander Anna Velis entered, her expression unreadable. Varan 7 is gone, Kyle nodded. Any word from the Council? They're screaming. Good, she stepped closer. That's 70,000 lives, Kyle. He turned to her, eyes cold. So was Hiroshima, so was Berlin, so was London. You think they don't know how we work? That wasn't just retaliation. That was a message. Exactly. Kyle stood, calm, certain. They wanted to remind us who rules this galaxy. We just reminded them what happens when you light a match near a fuel tank. The message from Earth, broadcasted moments after the Varan 7 explosion, was brief. No anthem, no posturing. One of ours was taken. Now we take balance. Further escalation will not be met with diplomacy. We are not seeking war. We are establishing memory. The galaxy listened. Some laughed nervously, others sat frozen. But in the darkness of space, far beyond any star map, ancient AIs reawakened in fear. Because long before Earth was part of the galactic table, it had been part of something else. The Nareen Councillor Visa met privately with 2 non-aligned factions. Her voice was urgent but low. You don't understand, this isn't just a human response. This is part of their encoded doctrine, what they call balance through impact. You mean retaliation? No, Visa said. I mean philosophy. Every human child learns this. If you strike, be ready to be struck harder. Not to dominate, but so no one forgets. The others were silent. This wasn't a show of strength, she continued. It was a lesson. Earth is not showing power. It's showing memory. A memory species is more dangerous than a war one. On the fringes of Drekar space, Kyle Rao stood aboard his flagship, Spectre 1, a vessel no alien had seen and survived. He addressed his officers. This is not a war we asked for, but it is a war they earned. Let them wonder how. We struck. Let them guess where we'll hit next, but remember this, our goal is not revenge. It's understanding. He looked at the symbol on his gauntlet, the Earth crest surrounded by 13 stars. The first flame has been lit, not to burn the galaxy, but to light up its lies. In Drekar territory, news of Varan 7's destruction triggered chaos. Young warriors demanded blood. Older tacticians hesitated, because they'd seen how Earth responded, not by charging, but by calculating. In perfect silence, The stars shifted. Alliances trembled, and somewhere in the void between systems, another Earth drone activated, slithering into deep orbit around a planet the Drekar hadn't thought to protect. Another lesson was coming, and the galaxy was starting to learn. You don't provoke Earth, you awaken it. There are things the galaxy never asked about Earth, where its true military record was, why it advanced so rapidly in just a few hundred years, and why, after reaching the stars, it seemed so calm, as if it had seen it all before. Deep within the Sol Archive core, hidden beneath the crust of Mercury's artificial moon, a vault opened for the first time in over 100 years. Inside, black boxes pulsing with organic light, memory data preserved by quantum entanglement. Not files, not reports, histories, and more importantly, instructions. Kyle Rao stood before one such interface, an ancient command console older than the Galactic Council itself. Its symbols weren't digital but handwritten in ancient ink. The language, Old Human, the precursor dialect only elite tacticians and AI strategists had learned. Rao placed his palm on the interface. It hissed, scanned, accepted. A voice filled the chamber, female, calm. Directive Sigma protocol identified. Do you wish to proceed to Phase 2? Rao didn't hesitate. Proceed. Light poured across the console, revealing a secret human, history buried from the galaxy's eyes. Earth's real military records had never been public. Its wars, conflicts, extinction events, all scrubbed, sealed, layered in fiction. But now the truth unfolded. The first successful orbital kill strike was not against another human faction. It was against a bioengineered alien scout discovered during the Titan incident of 2089, long before Earth was invited to the Council. The first stealth quantum fleet, launched in 2130, 3 years before Earth declared it had FTL travel. They never declared war, they trained for one that was always coming. The Council never knew. Earth's defenses were built before its membership application. Earth never intended to join the galaxy. It intended to study it. Kyle stepped back as the chamber dimmed again. Commander Velis joined him, reading the holograms over his shoulder. My God, we were preparing this war before we even met the Drekar. We never trusted them, Kyle replied. We never trusted any of them. Then why join the Council at all? Kyle's voice hardened. To find out who the real threats were. In the archives, the records revealed something more chilling. Project Richia, a terraformation AI seeded not on Earth, but under Mars, tasked with one thing. If Earth is lost, recreate its memory somewhere else. The AI hadn't activated, because Earth hadn't fallen, because Earth had prepared. Meanwhile, in Drekar High Command, panic spread beneath the armor of arrogance. High Marshal Skor sat with his war council, no longer roaring, no longer mocking, just watching replay footage of Varan 7's internal collapse. There was no infiltration, one of his generals stammered. No breach, just failure. No, Skor growled. Just proof. Proof of what? Skor stared at the footage, systems shutting down in synchronized sequences, gravity flipping rooms, precision fire bursts into sealed quarters. Proof that we are not fighting a species. We are fighting a system. Back in Earth's shadow space, invisible regions known only to High Command AI, Kyle Rao stood before a gathering of his top Ghost Fleet commanders. Each one selected from the Voidborn Initiative. Soldiers trained to operate with no orders, no signals, no morality codes, just outcome. The Drekar think we're retaliating, Kyle began. They think this ends when they surrender, or when they counterattack. He looked at each of them quiet. They don't understand. This isn't their war. It's ours, and it started the moment Elias Grange fell. In the far reaches of Drekar space, 3 seemingly unrelated sabotage events occurred within the same 24 hours. A supply station turned its atmosphere generators into poison. A training moon's gravity generators spun at 400%, crushing thousands. A Drekar colony woke up to find their AI servers replaced with human messages. Each message contained the same phrase, balance through impact. The words weren't just a slogan. They were the creed of Earth's retaliation doctrine, centuries old, never spoken in public, passed in whispers between Earth's elite war scholars, and now reborn across the stars, atop the highest spire of Itara Prime, Counselor Visa stood beneath the night sky. Watching Earth's star flicker in the distance, her aide approached quietly. The Drekka are demanding full sanctions against Earth. And what do the other species say? Half are too afraid, the rest are watching. Visa nodded, eyes distant. Because Earth has reminded them. They're not the newcomers anymore. What are they? She smiled faintly. They're the consequence. It began with silence. No sirens, no alarms, no incoming signatures, just light. Above Drekka Prime, the jewel of the Empire and seat of High Marshal Skor's throne, the skies ruptured with sudden brilliance. At first, citizens believed it was a solar flare or a meteor storm. Then the first orbital defense grid blinked out, then the second, and then the third. Within seconds, the night sky turned into a canvas of falling embers. Structures thousands of meters tall ignited from within, their cores overheating as their power grids reversed polarity. Onlookers stared upward, confused, until the fire began to fall. From the edge of the Drekka system, cloaked in gravity-masking fields, the Earth Ghost Fleet initiated Operation Emberlight, humanity's first open strike since the death of Elias Grange. They didn't fire conventional weapons. They activated Vanta Protocol, a classified assault using synchronized nanite disruptors, launched via guided space dust, programmed to attach to Drekka infrastructure, feed off its power, and rewrite its thermal core directives. No shields could stop them, no scanners detected them, and when they activated, the very metal of Drekka tech became its fuel. Kyle Rao stood aboard Spectre 1, watching live satellite footage as Drekka Prime's skies turned red-orange, towers collapsed like paper, and their comms descended into white noise. Commander Velis stood beside him, her jaw tight. "That's 4 planetary shields down." "5, Kyle corrected, pointing at a new flash. She exhaled slowly. "They never saw us coming." Kyle didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He just whispered, "That was the point." On the ground, Drekka citizens screamed. Their once invincible empire burned from above, not by brute force, but by cleverness. Their fleet hadn't failed in defense. It had never even known it was under attack. Whole military districts vanished in perfectly calculated chain reactions. Fire didn't spread randomly. It climbed the hierarchy. Tactical centers, defense, hubs, command relays. A pattern of punishment, not chaos. At the center of the capital, High Marshal Skor emerged from a collapsing command bunker, roaring with fury, covered in dust and blood. He looked to the skies, now glowing with destruction, and I finally understood. We didn't provoke them into war. We provoked them into justice. In orbit, one Drekka dreadnought remained untouched. Not because Earth couldn't destroy it, but because it had been chosen. The human AI aboard Spectre 1 patched into its communication array, forcing a direct channel to the galaxy's wideband relay. A face appeared. Kyle Rao, human. Calm, drenched in firelight. "This is not annihilation. This is education. For every drop of blood you took from Elias Grange, for every scream you silenced in his final moments, we have," returned a proportionate reminder, "we do not seek to rule you. We seek to remind you why you don't rule us." The transmission ended. Exactly 3 seconds later, the untouched Drekka dreadnought exploded from within. Across the galaxy, the broadcast echoed through every comm channel, every trade station, every military bunker. Worlds paused. Even longtime enemies of Earth felt their pulses slow. The Talari called it the Night of Memory. The Vosin referred to it as the First Reckoning, and the Orzath simply turned off all lights and watched. Because for the first time, a galactic superpower had bled. Not from rebellion, but from design. On Witara Prime, Councillor Visa watched the flames of Drekka Prime play out in real-time holograms. Her aides were pale, shaking. "Should we call for peace talks?" "No," she whispered. "They wouldn't answer." "Then what do we do?" She turned slowly, her voice heavier than ever before. "We start learning from Earth." Back aboard Spectre 1, Kyle Rao sat alone, watching the tactical feed fade into black. Commander Velis approached him quietly. "We've disabled 73% of the Drekar military grid. Civilian losses, minimal. Infrastructure, destroyed." Kyle nodded. "And the boy?" She paused. "We found the footage. It's worse than we thought." Kyle's jaw tightened. "Then we're not done." She looked up, unsure. "You want to keep striking?" He turned toward her, voice iron. "I want them to feel it, not just pain. Memory. And so the skies burned, not in conquest, but in a language humanity hadn't spoken in centuries, unforgiving clarity. The fires had dimmed, but the silence that followed was louder than any war cry. Drekar Prime was no longer ablaze. It was crippled. Communications fragmented, power reserves drained. What was once the most feared empire in the quadrant now limped in shame, its war moons reduced to wreckage, its pride buried beneath ash. But Earth hadn't sent a fleet to occupy. It didn't plant a flag, it simply stopped and waited. In the Galactic Council's Grand Hall, a meeting was called. For the first time in 5 centuries, every single seat was filled, even those races who hadn't shown up in decades. Fear has a way of clearing calendars. Holograms buzzed, languages overlapped, accusations, theories, panic. Then the chamber. Lights dimmed. A single transmission cut through all signals, and the face of Kyle Rao appeared in the center of the hall, projected at 10 meters tall, not in anger, not in victory, but in absolute, terrifying calm. "To the members of the Galactic Council, my name is Kyle Rao, commander of Earth's Spectre fleet. Our people have long been silent. We joined your treaties. We played by your rules. We watched, listened, learned. And then you murdered one of ours." The chamber fell still. Not even the Drekar delegation moved. "You believed we were like you, petty, divided, slow to act, afraid of power. You were wrong." Behind Kyle, the image of Elias Granger's final moment flashed, not the violence, but his face. Calm, bleeding, eyes locked on his captors. "This is not about vengeance, it's about truth. The truth is, humanity has never been weak. We were patient. We did not build fleets to conquer, we built them to remind you that if you strike us, we strike back harder." Visa, the Enreen counselor, leaned forward in her seat, heart racing. "He's not threatening us," she whispered. Her aide blinked. "Then what is this?" "A doctrine," she murmured. "A declaration of who Earth really is." "Kyle," Rao continued, voice steady as stone, "we will not retaliate further. Our message is complete. But know this, if another hand rises against us, there will be no council to warn you. No speech, no message. Only silence, followed by fire." The transmission ended. The lights returned, but no one spoke. In the aftermath, the council entered emergency sessions. The Drekar demanded sanctions. No one supported them. The key. Talari suggested a new galactic defense protocol built around Earth's neutrality. The Vosin proposed something radical. Earth be granted autonomous deterrent status, a quiet acknowledgement of a truth no one wanted to admit. Earth wasn't a threat. Earth was a reminder. Back on Earth, in a command room buried beneath the Himalayas, Kyle Rao stood before a digital mural, thousands of small lights, each one blinking with the name of a human lost to interstellar violence. Elias Granger's name was brightest. Commander Velis joined him, her voice soft. "We did what we came to do," Kyle nodded. "And now we disappear. Into peace?" Kyle turned. "Into memory." Across the galaxy, change rippled like gravity waves. The Drekar ceased expansion efforts. New treaties were drafted, some explicitly banning civilian targeting, others requiring Earth's presence at every strategic negotiation. In classrooms, from EOS 3 to Zathari, students studied Earth's actions not as aggression, but as philosophy. They called it the Soul Doctrine, A single line from it was etched into memory. "We do not speak often, but when we do, the stars listen." In a quiet field outside the Mars colony of Elysium, a statue of Elias Grange was unveiled. Not a warrior, not a general, just a man, standing tall, looking skyward, hand behind his back, as if asking the stars a question. At its base, a plaque in 24 languages. He died not as a symbol, but as a spark. And in that fire, we remembered who we are. Kyle Rao disappeared shortly after. Some say he returned to the shadows. Others believe he was uploaded into the Soulcore AI to guide Earth's future from within its machines. Whatever the truth, one thing became universal. No empire would ever forget the day Earth spoke, because when it did, the galaxy listened.